Hey everybody, this is Petey from Spin Rack, and we also have
Calvin Ellis ready to rock.
today, since we're getting close to the closeout of the year, I didn't want to just pull out all of the books I did. There wasn't that many that I've read this year that I loved, but we're gonna go through our top couple of books that came out. Do you want to start it? Or want me to start it?
I'll start it off.
Okay, what you got?
All right, my top books for the year, all DC. Batman, Superman by Mark Waid. Nightwing, I believe Tom Taylor is doing the chores on that book. And the Superman War World arc by Philip Kennedy. Best books from DC, excellent stories and things that you can definitely plug into and recommend to somebody else to read to get them to plug in as well.
Okay. Do you want to tell anyone brief things on those stories?
No, give yours tops and then we go back and forth.
Okay, for me, it's Fantastic Four Full Circle. Something that obviously pre-order wise was a ways back, but when it came out, it definitely knocked my socks off. And then I would go another Marvel. It's surprising I had a couple Marvel would be Walter Mosley's Thing series, the next big thing, where he goes against death, and of course the champion of the universe, and a couple other things. So it's a kind of, we're not sure the exact time frame for it, but it was just a fun sort of thing series where thing is still tragic, fun, resourceful, and he runs into a lot of different characters, which is understanding that thing is a reactor. So that's why you kind of give him a semblance, but he should be a star in the book, not just like a sideline person. So yeah, it was a really good thing. I was surprised to see they didn't have a time limit on it, but it was a 6 issue thing. And then of course now they're gonna do Thing and Hulk kind of series. And I was just like, this framework was kind of fun. And but they kind of, it was before, obviously before Alicia and Thing were married, so you could do some things where Thing gets jealous and runs off and whatnot. But yeah, those so far, I mean, there's still John Romita Jr. is doing some gorgeous work on Spider-Man, but I think it's kind of you know um, it's not anything that I would say that you have to run out and get. But the book, I did pick up some issues of that. Not seeing that the last Ronin, that the Lost Years is coming out, so I'm glad they're continuing it. I didn't think they should have just ended it, but they got enough to get the people back in, and they have some more story to go. So yeah, those are kind of the things.
Those are good picks. I definitely agree with you on. I didn't read the Thing series, but Fantastic Four by Alex Ross, and we were talking about that the other day. That's probably one of the that was the only Marvel book that I was hot for that I can remember. Where I was like, yeah, I want to get this, I want to read it, I want to own it. Alex Ross is doing the art. I don't care what anybody else has to say. I want this. There's a place for it already reserved on my bookshelf, and I'm still looking to get a copy signed by Alex Ross if I can stop buying other stuff to allow myself the extra money to go buy that. But yeah, I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with that pick.
Mhm. But yes, so what about this story, the War World story, this current run into War World that was
This is
you digging?
usually this is the War World story is usually like a filler story that's going to
Mhm.
take up some space in between the last story arc and the new direction that they want to do for a character. So, it's like, okay, we want to do something new with Iron Man, but for right now, we're going to take him off the stage and we'll let Rhodey be in the armor for like a year, maybe 2 years, however long. And then when he comes back, he's going to have a new direction. He'll have a new company, he'll have new armor, you know, stuff that they do so you can give to the character can, so a character of that age or any characters like him of that age can, get as much of a fresh start as possible. And usually, okay, that filler story or that filler storyline, if you will, usually it sucks.
Mm.
It's filler, and most of the time you're just waiting. You're just marking time until you get back the character that you actually want to read about. Every once in a while, you get a really good storyline, and War World was exactly that. It treats Superman like the mythical character that he was created to be. It really hones in on the core of the character. And usually I'm not for stories where Superman is depowered. I always think that's such a big cheat and the guys just don't want to do the heavy lift. but it really worked here. And anybody who would complain about, oh, Superman too powerful, this, that, and the other, why don't they do something different? I mean, you had Superman literally acting as a gladiator, for the better, for the better part, for the better part of over 6 months. And he liberates this place not through strength, but through inspiring them, with truth, justice, and the old American way that he fights for. So, I was reading it; it was really easy to get into. And then when he's back up to full form, you're like, okay, great. You want to see more of that particular character that's been established. Now put and lay in all the powers, and just go off and have some really dynamic adventures. It's tough because I have Superman guys who don't like it when Superman is off planet. They want Superman to be in Metropolis all the time, running around doing that type of stuff, which I've never understood. I was like, this is a really dynamic character, and you want him, he's an alien, and you want him to be on planet all the time. So a lot of those guys kind of tuned this one out. They weren't with it. I was like, but yeah, you always say that doesn't powers and stuff don't matter. It's the character, right? Yeah, well, the character's there in this storyline. Well, so they were there, but a lot of that came from Bendis, and he had really soured guys on the book. So when they decided to do this particular, when they decided to go this direction, a lot of guys just threw up their hands and said, okay, there's just been too many changes, and I'm not on board with this one. However, that doesn't take away from an A-level story that came from Philip Kennedy. Really, really good, really, really good, and something you could recommend when it's in heart. When they do the omnibus on it, this is definitely something I recommend people picking up. If you didn't pick it up issue by issue, definitely pick up the omnibus, and don't be surprised when that omnibus sells out.
And then you said Nightwing.
Oh yeah, Nightwing has been that's just been a slam dunk from Tom Taylor. I mean, for as bad, well, let me not say bad, but as unenthusiastic as I am about his rendition of John Kent as a son of Superman,
Mm-hmm.
he's gotten Nightwing really, really well. The relationship between Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon is on point. Nightwing having a raison d'être in terms of why he's going out and doing this, and Nightwing has been one of my favorite characters when he was for when he was Robin, and to go out here and he just nails the character. This guy is the fruition of the world's finest team. He has been raised by the Batman, but also with a significant amount of influence from Superman. And so he's able to go out there and use all of that training that he's gotten from the Batman. And despite the fact that his parents were murdered in very much the same fashion of the Batman, he doesn't have any of Batman's baggage. He doesn't have the relentless drive that makes the Batman this brooding character. He's optimistic. He's personable. He's a great leader, and all of that comes through in the storyline. So it's just a fun read. And again, this is something where if you want to get somebody into something, like, here, read this. It's something they can easily pick up with, and you want to continue reading with it. It's very good. It's very good, and it's a regular series from Tom Taylor, where usually he excels at the stuff that's out of continuity or the alternative take on these characters. But this is an in-series story, and he's doing a really good job with it, which always makes me scratch my head when I read the John Kent series.
Well, otherwise, there's some, I guess, last bits to say. I think there's more now. You can just get a trade for it, but I think the ending of the second part of the Norse mythology, which I think we talked about for 2 seconds, we talked about it a bunch ourselves a bunch of times, but again, I guess it gets the part the
Oh,
third.
With P. Craig Russell.
Yeah, and Neil Gaiman getting to do, like, even though it does have a little snarky attitude to it, it's still been a fun thing. So I would definitely say, if you haven't seen that sort of thing and you like you like the myths as they are, this is having different artists kind of tackle these stories and do these fun sort of things with them. Not really change it, but just see it illustrated. But basically the form, the layout, and the angle of it is from Neil Gaiman and Craig Russell. But we have a bunch of talents like Jill Thompson, Colleen Doran, David Rubin, Galen Showman. So yeah, it's definitely been something I've been enjoying. One of the few books that I try to find and check out. So yeah, that's, I guess, those. I wanted to get. I knew there was a third one that I was out there with. I mentioned the turtle thing, but I haven't read that yet. But I know it's out. But Yep. We still got a toe in the comic book, comic book
Oh,
reading.
also Batman Superman by Mark Waid. That the
Okay.
Batman Superman World's Finest by Mark Waid. If you're one of these guys who's out here moaning about the direction of comics and you're not reading this one, then again, you got to shut up. You just want to moan.
Mhm.
This is pound for pound the best DC book being published on a monthly basis. It is unapologetic about recognizing the history of DC Comics. It's also, unfortunately, it's played out of continuity. So there's a bunch of stuff going on where Batman, Superman, and Robin are the world's finest team, and Supergirl comes in. You get Batgirl here and there. So it's just a bunch of fun to read at the end of the day, because Waid understands the DC universe, how to use it, how to manipulate it well, and so every time you pick it up, it's great. The most recent story arc is, well, they try to answer the question of why did Superman never have a sidekick? And so he introduces that sort of stuff, which I think is a takeoff of somebody else's story trying to introduce why Green Lantern never had a sidekick. But the answer why Superman never had a sidekick is because he had a well, one, he's Superman. There's no other Kryptonians. He had Supergirl, if you will, that was like the kid's sidekick, and he was a child superhero himself. So if you wanted the sidekick stories with Superman, you had all of that stuff going. But he goes into that particular storyline, and you can tell there's going to be a little bit of tragedy in it, but it's very well rendered by Dan Mora in terms of the art, who's doing it more of a definitely more of a two-dimensional style. It's more flat, but it works sort of like how Tony Daniel is able to render his art. Not definitely not something where it's two-dimensional, but they're really pushing it. They're really pushing the 3D gimmicks. Well, let me not say gimmicks, but it's like Ivan Rice's work, which always comes across as like leaping off the page. This isn't quite the same, and yet it's totally beautiful stuff to look at. That's the best book out from DC on a monthly basis. And if you're moaning about the state of comics and you're not reading it, then again, you're one of these guys who just wakes up to moan.
All right. So check those out when you get a chance, and or if I get a chance to review them on here, check them out then. All right. Like, subscribe, and comment, and complain. Do whatever you want to do. And spin a rack.